So we have Adiposs and Andre. Adiposs is a medical imaging technology for brown adipose tissue. Here you go, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name's Andre. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Adiposs, and we image body fat. This patient has lost a lot of body weight without wanting it and became super thin and frail. It's because he has body wasting or cachexia, and it's a killer. 3 million patients die because of body wasting every year. The problem is that nobody knows when it starts and in which patients. They always get a late diagnosis, and that means they lose years of life. We will change this because we know that body fat changes. Normal white fat becomes brown fat, which burns calories and leads to body wasting. Yet this has been invisible. Until today, we've developed ImagePath. It's the first product that makes brown fat and body wasting visible early, before weight loss. And we've made it super simple because patients already have medical scans, and all they have to do to get an early diagnosis is to drink a small bottle prior to their regular medical scan. So that means that our total addressable market is 1.2 billion patients with cancer and chronic diseases worldwide, because a CT medical scanner is available in every hospital worldwide. This is our roadmap. We've successfully finished preclinical development and received regulatory endorsement to start phase 1 first-in-human clinical trial. And to do that, we need to close our seed financing round of 3 million. We have potential diagnostic and companion diagnostic exit partners, and deals in this space range from 500 million and upwards. Adiposs has a tremendous team that combines 80 years of science, business, drug development, and entrepreneurial experience with several exits. We work with top key opinion leaders in the field and independent board members with second-to-none track records in MedTech and BioTech. This is Adiposs. We image body fat and give millions of patients better and longer lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, wonderful work. Things started while we wait for the audience questions to roll in. You mentioned that you're doing funding to do your clinical trials. Where do you think you might want to do your clinicals? In the US or in Switzerland?
Neither. We're going to do it in Europe because it's a phase 1. But I can tell you that today I talked with clinicians based in the US, and they are super interested to do phase 2 here in the US.
Fantastic. And do you have an ideal partner here who you'd love to talk to? Maybe we can get you a connection.
Yes, that would be, of course, cancer community oncologists, but also we're looking into metabolic diseases that I don't pitch. So it's a wide variety of clinicians that would be interested in our technology.
Fantastic. So if you have any clinicians on the line, please do get in touch. From the audience, Brian Morley asked, what does the care team do with the information? Is this reversible?
It is. Cachexia, body wasting, is reversible, but the whole community agrees that it needs to be detected as early as possible. Unfortunately today, because it's detected late, treatments fail. But for cancer patients, the good news is that the first-in-class treatment has been approved earlier this year. It's coming to the US and Europe in the following years.
Fantastic. Thank you for your presentation, and we're looking forward to seeing where you go next.
Thanks for having me.
All right, up next we have Valerie from Flowbone. Flowbone is restoring bone strength to prevent breaks. There you are, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Valerie, CEO and co-founder of Flowbone. Every year in the world, there are more than 2 million hip fractures due to osteoporosis. And these fractures, they have devastating consequences. 30% of the patients will die within a year, and half of the survivors will never walk unassisted again. And anti-osteoporotic drugs are not sufficient to protect the hips from subsequent fractures. So this has driven some organizations to sound the alarm and call for the urgent need to develop new approaches for the prevention of hip fractures. And at Flowbone, we have a solution. We have developed a gel that restores the strength of bones in just a few weeks and can be injected under local anesthesia by an interventional radiologist. The formulation of the gel is patented and relies on a degradable hydrogel matrix embedding mineral nanoparticles. So once the gel is injected, these mineral nanoparticles will act as bone sieves, triggering the formation of new bone that will come to reinforce the old existing bone, doing bone strengthening in the most physiological way possible. And this very innovative mode of action we have already demonstrated in rodents, where we got new bone already after 2 weeks. But more recently, we were able to reproduce these results in a larger animal model, the sheep, where we got new bone formation after 4 weeks, which is amazingly quick for a sheep and gives us a good idea of what to expect in a human trial. The market opportunity for Flowbone is massive. In the EU and US alone, there are 6 million patients that are at very high, imminent risk of hip fracture. And we want to target the patients that are enrolled in secondary fracture prevention programs, because these patients are already well diagnosed and easily reachable, and they form our addressable market of $7 billion. Our roadmap to access the market is mainly dictated by regulatory regulations. Right now, we have completed pilot and proof of concept studies and are ready to start our preclinical studies. We are looking to raise money for a seed round of 3 million in 2022 to finance both preclinical studies and a proof of concept in human, a feasibility study with 5 patients. Flowbone is driven by a team of co-founders that is very diverse. We have people coming from a startup or big corporate backgrounds, people coming from MedTech or life sciences company, and people coming from academia. And we are also supported by a team of very strong key opinion leaders in the field of osteoporosis, as well as experts driving us for the regulatory pathway and the US market access. Thank you for your attention, and if you want to hear more about Flowbone, please reach out to us.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We already have a question from the audience. They're wondering why somebody might choose an injectable rather than taking a drug like Forteo.
So drugs do not work very well to protect the hip. So they work very well to protect the vertebra, for example. They are very slow acting, take up to 2 years. But when you're at very high imminent risk of hip fracture, the fracture might occur within the next 6 months. So the drug will not act in time to prevent that fracture. On top of that, these patients, they are very fragile because they are old. And you want to propose to them a solution that is quick and easy. And an injection under local anesthesia is ideal for that.
Excellent. And I think a follow-on from that is, how much do you know about the competitive landscape? Is it entirely drugs or is there other solutions?
So in terms of competitive landscape, we don't see us as a competition to drugs because our solution can totally be added on top of drug treatment to protect the hips already while the drug is acting. Actually, the drug will come and reinforce the effect of our treatment because it will protect the new bone that we form. There is also some cement injections that are being done, but they all require general anesthesia, which is very hard to justify for preventive treatment in old patients.
Okay. And I think a question that I have, I hope I'm not preempting anyone in the audience, but do you have any idea, is there any difference between the biological bone and the bone that you create, and how long does it last?
So from the histology that we have, we are creating actual bone. And we already know from our rodent studies that depending on whether or not our product is associated with an anti-resorptive drug, the bone will either remain there because it needs to remain there for remodeling because it will undergo load. If the product is not added together with an anti-resorptive drug and the bone was formed in a position where it's not natural, it will resorb naturally after a while.
Okay, fantastic. Well, looking forward to seeing this move forward. Thank you for presenting with us. And if anyone in the audience is interested in bone regeneration, preventative medicine in some ways, please reach out to Valerie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to welcome to the stage Thomas from CustomSurg. CustomSurg is the next generation of trauma surgery tools. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm Thomas from CustomSurg, and we want to bring trauma surgery to the next level. So every few seconds, a bone is broken in one way or another that can lead to severe consequences. While most of these bone fractures are treated through medical routine, about 5% of them are highly complex and lead to unwanted complications affecting patients' life and their ability to perform work or activities. Currently, these fractures are treated based on guesswork before the surgery. During the surgery, the surgeons relies on their experience, basing it on trial and error, and it leads to high level of complications. So our solution is that we can simulate through a proprietary algorithm before the surgery how the fracture should be fixed for a specific patient and how the screws could be optimized so they can sustain the loading of daily activities of the patients. During the surgery, we can provide a personalized assistance through virtual help, and that could lead to more effective outcomes. Based on our technology, we can provide several product lines. We would like to start with a preoperative planning service to optimize how current implants are used. That can then be extended to a virtual surgery assistance and eventually provide 3D printed patient-specific implant to conclude the full product service bundle. If you trust the surgeon, the salesman, or the scientist, that may depend on your interest. Either way, we combine these know-hows within our founding team so we could leave all doubts behind. We currently have a first prototype of our planning solution, including the operative assistance. And in the video here, you can see my clinical co-founder actually trying this out in his operating room. And we have a pending patent application. Our current funding is so far mostly non-dilutive of about $500,000. And our next steps are clinical studies and regulatory approval of our planning software. Therefore, we're looking for about $2 million over the next 2 years to bring this to the market. That will then follow with an expected other $5 million to include the 3D printed implants. So if you're interested in faster surgeries with better outcomes, please reach out to me. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I think the natural question is, we put you in a very specific order with Flowbone first and CustomSurg next. Would you consider them competition or in a friendly way, perhaps?
I would say in a very friendly way, because, you know, if our product is needed, something really goes bad. So I'm like fully confident in their gels and that can help, but it's actually also slightly different applications in the body.
Fantastic. And can you talk a little bit about what you're going to need to go through the regulatory process? How big are your clinical trials and where are you holding them?
So we expect to be able to go through the 510K process, as there are other planning softwares. I think we just add another safety level by actually simulating what is, you know, being done rather than just still leaving it up to the surgeon. So the existing planning services, the surgeon still needs, it's all subjective. So we bring this objectivity in. So we actually believe we only have to prove a safety study with a limited amount of patients for that. Fantastic. And are those going to be done in Europe or in the US? We will most likely do it in both places, but first probably in the US, considering the affiliation of my clinical co-founder with the Boston Hospital here. Fantastic. And given that you're here for a few more days, who would be the best people for you to speak to if they're in the audience? So in the audience, I think that's mainly investors that are interested into, you know, seed funding, early stage startups in the orthopedic trauma field. Fantastic. And we do have an audience question. They're asking, is this an open system? It can be an open system in this. I'm assuming they assume the planning service, if we can use it with different devices, and we are certainly open to that. So that would be our first product that we can offer it to the implants the hospital already has, so they can use what they know, but just optimize on how they're using it. If hopefully this is addressing the question. I believe so. They didn't add a follow-up, so we're going to say that you did a really good job, and I'm sure you got the question right on the head. So I think since there aren't any other questions, we'll wrap that up. But thank you for a great presentation. Please get in touch if you're interested in when things go wrong. Thank you very much. Coming up next, we have Lucas from Hemotune. They're disrupting blood purification.
My name is Lucas and I'm the founder and CEO of Hemotune. We are a Zurich-based startup company. We have been selected the #1 spin-off in the German-speaking part of Europe this year. And as I was introduced, we are revolutionizing blood purification with an extremely precise and efficient extracorporeal technology. We have upscaled the technology in the last years and are now developing towards clinical trials. And actually we start with sepsis. Sepsis is one of the leading global health priorities, affecting 50 million people, responsible for about 20% of all global death. And it's also the most expensive healthcare condition treated in hospitals. For sepsis, we have developed a very innovative treatment that focuses on the late stage of sepsis. Sepsis is a misguided immune response to an infection. It starts with a very activated hyperinflammation state, but those patients... And we are selectively removing 3 key compounds that lead to this immunoparalysis to restore immune balance and help patients get out of the ICU quicker. So we have an extracorporeal treatment like a dialysis machine. We pump the blood outside of the body, but instead of having a rigid filter, we add magnetic beads. They are coated with specific binding sites on the surface, and together with the targets, we remove them in a magnetic filter. With that, we can achieve extremely high removal efficiencies, and we can remove multiple compounds at the same time. We are an interdisciplinary team, about 20 people. We cover beads development, device development, regulatory quality, and also clinicals. And we are now looking for 15 to 22 million Swiss francs to bring the technology to market approval in Europe. We plan a clinical study of around 120 patients. This will also be the pilot trial for FDA approval. And as I said, we will be able to file for CE mark based on that trial. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic, thank you. I think the first question that comes to mind for me is obviously you're aiming this at a sepsis indication, but it seems like it could also have many other uses. Are there any other indications that you're thinking about?
Yes, I mean, we have basically a platform, and we also look into autoimmune diseases, transplantation medicine, and basically everywhere where you really need selective removal of compounds directly from the blood.
And so it could also be used as a research tool, not necessarily just a clinical tool.
It could, yes, but we are really focusing on the clinical aspect because with our beads, we are uniquely capable of having really large flow rates of the blood. So we achieve flow rates of 100 ml per minute, and this allows us really to use it therapeutically.
Oh, fantastic. There's a question from the audience asking, what is the key side effect?
So basically, as it's extracorporeal, we expect that there are no key side effects. Of course, the main risk that we look at is what happens if beads end up in the body. However, we have done already 52 weeks biocompatibility studies where we injected all the beads without any removal, and we didn't see any inflammation or any tumor genesis or any harm if beads end up in the body. So we expect also that the technology is extremely well tolerated and actually has a better safety profile compared to pharmaceuticals or antibody therapies.
And there's no accumulation or clearance issues with the beads that were in the 52-week study?
They are eaten up basically by immune cells, but they are inert.
Fantastic. I think that's a great side effect, is to have none.
Yes.